In the beginning was Daytona.
Here we go.
The birthplace of speed, the launch pad of legends, the great American race.
Oh, they're in the wall.
It's always been,
Keep digging, stay in the gap.
and will always be, the proving ground for greatness.
Let's go, boys!
Every driver looking to be remembered. Every fan looking for something they'll never forget. Secure your seats now at Daytona500.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you in our Tuscaloosa studios before we hit the road to Texas for Alabama against Texas A&M coming up on Saturday. Really busy show coming up, and we'll go through everything that is coming up on the show thanks to our friends RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They give us a smart board to go through everything coming up on the show, plus our headlines for today. First of all, we'll be talking with Texas native Jalen Milroe, the quarterback of the Alabama Crimson Tide, joined us for a one-on-one conversation. So some thoughts from the Tide quarterback, Jalen Milroe, followed by some thoughts from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, as he met with the media last night to go over everything coming up for Saturday against A&M. Eli Gold will be along. Tonight, he, of course, is hosting Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show with a very special guest. More on that with this Hey Coach preview coming up in just a bit. And then Ryan Hennessy, who last week was the media guest on the Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show. He'll be along for the big picture to kind of give us his thoughts. He's the sports director at WVTM Television in Birmingham. Last but not least, we'll go down to Bryan College Station and check in with the voice of the Aggies, Andrew Monaco. He'll give us a great scouting report on Texas A&M with the other booth. So that's what's coming up on the show today. Some headlines for this Crimson Tide football team as Alabama looks to improve to 3-0 in SEC play. It's Alabama against Texas A&M this Saturday. 2:30 the kickoff. Our radio coverage will start at 11:30 a.m. live from Kyle Field. Alabama has had a lot of success against Texas A&M, especially in the Saban era, as Coach Saban is 9-2 all-time against Texas A&M. Congratulations to Caleb Downs, named the SEC Freshman of the Week. A great performance that he had against Mississippi State with 13 tackles and an interception. And also Will Reichert off to a solid start. Knock on wood, hasn't missed a field goal this season for the Crimson Tide. Hasn't missed one going back deep to last year. And for his good work, the Lou Groza Award has named him one of the stars in the week. Really would love to see him get that Lou Groza Award just in general coming up this season for everything he has done for the Crimson Tide football team. The other football, Alabama soccer, getting ready to host the Auburn Tigers tonight. Huge match coming up at the Alabama Soccer Stadium at 6 p.m. It's the Power of Pink match, so make sure you wear your pink as well as crimson coming up when you do go to the match. If you can't go, it will be televised on the SEC Network as Alabama and Auburn battle for the Iron Bowl of soccer. Then on Sunday, the Crimson Tide will be on the road in a familiar spot. They're actually headed down to College Station to take on Texas A&M coming up on Sunday at 6 p.m. So if you're maybe driving to Bryan College Station, just stick around one extra day. Cheer on the Crimson Tide soccer team. Alabama, following the loss last week to Kentucky, did fall in the polls to number 17 in the nation, but still near the top of the table in SEC soccer. Some other headlines around the Crimson Tide athletic department. It's the volleyball team. Last night returned to action against Tennessee, fell in 3 sets to the Lady Volunteers, who again 12th in the country. You have the 9th-ranked Florida Gators coming to town in Gainesville coming up on Sunday. So hopefully a good result coming up for Rashinda Reed and the Alabama volleyball team. Great result, a milkshake already for Jay Sewell and the men's golf team earlier in the week, winning at the Hamptons Intercollegiate. Nick Dunlap, after shooting 60 on Monday, he was the individual runner-up, so another great honor for Dunlap, another great celebration for the Alabama men's golf team. Off to a winning start this season. You certainly love to see it. You also love seeing the fun play recently of Jalen Milroe. Crimson Tide quarterback had a 53-yard rushing touchdown, looked really solid in the passing game against Mississippi State. He joins us this week on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, as we get ready for Alabama against Texas A&M. Jalen, congrats on the win, first of all, against Mississippi State. What did the offense do well on Saturday?
I think what we did very well was attacking each day that we had during the week. I think that was key to our success this weekend. It took all 11 guys, good or bad. I like our mindset from our team. You know, we're hungry. We steadily wanted to get better during the game. And we took some big strides this weekend. So I'm excited for our team, excited for what's ahead in our future, and I'm proud of the guys in the locker room.
To get Alabama on the scoreboard first, he had a 53-yard rushing touchdown. Just describe that play from your point of view.
Yeah, Coach Reese made a great scripted play against their defense, and I was confident in the play before the play even came in to the field. I just tried to execute it as much as possible, and it took all 11 guys on that play. Our offensive line opened it up for us. Receivers ran their particular assignment on that play, and it helped us succeed on that play.
Certainly was good. And you mentioned Tommy Reese. So what's your communication like with him in game? How does he help you?
Yeah, for sure. He gives me a great insight in the game, and then we stay in tune together. Also, I see it as just different lenses during the game. He sees it up top, but also I see it on the field. So I think it's a good feedback between me and him, and it just allows us to just grow during the game. So I think it's just very helpful just having him up top, and then we're just steadily growing each drive.
Do you continue to see this offensive line take steps forward each week?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, our offensive line is hungry. They prepare very hard. How they practicing to all our success that's over the weekend. And those guys are all good. Everybody up front is just eager to learn, eager to grow. And we're just excited for what's ahead in the future.
You were on the road this past Saturday, on the road coming up again this Saturday. What do you like about playing in road environments? We know you got the whole stadium kind of against you, but you got your guys with you on the field.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for us just to acknowledge what's ahead. But it's also exciting, nothing to be anxious about, but also just acknowledge how hard it is to go on the road and just do everything that what needs to be done to win the game. But first what we have to do is just focus on today, focus on growing, focus on building today, and just being the best version we can for today.
What have you learned about the Texas A&M defense so far?
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of preparation from me and Coach Reese and Coach Saban, so I'm excited to go over the game plan with them. But we know it's just going to be a challenge going to Aggie land, and it's going to be fun.
You're going to have a lot of people from Katy, Texas in the building?
Yeah, his family is going to be there.
Certainly good. Well, Jalen, Milroe, best of luck returning to Texas coming up this weekend. Best of luck against Texas A&M. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Roll Tide.
Crimson Drive is driven by NASCAR, and NASCAR is kicking off the 2024 regular season with the Daytona 500 on February 18th, 2024. Don't miss the opportunity to experience history as the drivers battle it out at one of NASCAR's most iconic tracks. More than 100,000 fans will be on the edge of their seat as they watch drivers race for the win at nearly 200 miles per hour. Join them and purchase your tickets today at Daytona500.com and get ready to experience one of the best atmospheres in sports. Thanks to Jalen Milroe for joining us earlier in the week. We had a conversation with Dallas Turner. Both of those interviews are available on demand on the Alabama Insider podcast and here on the CTSN YouTube page. Last night here in Tuscaloosa, it was head coach Nick Saban meeting with the media for one last press conference of the week. Of course, he will talk later tonight on the Nick Saban Show, but Coach had a strong message to deliver last night following the Wednesday practice for the Crimson Tide. Here is Coach's checklist from Wednesday.
I've been pretty pleased with the way the players are sort of working this week and preparing for this game. Sort of challenged them with, what is really your priority to be the best player you can be? What is your priority to do what you need to do to help the team win? And, if that's your priority, then that's what you're doing every day. It's not priorities, right, where it's not always comfortable. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you have to overcome adversity. So you got to kind of have to have the mental toughness to not let those things get you to back down and to continue to persevere. And I think the players have been doing a pretty good job of that. So far this week, this is obviously a really good team we're going to play in a tough environment. And we're going to need to continue to show a lot of progress so that we'll have a chance to be successful and be able to execute the way we need to have a chance to win on the road. Yeah, he's doing great. He's a really good receiver. He's improved as a blocker. He's, this year, his confidence and knowledge of the offense and what he's doing, how to do it, why it's important to do it that way is so much better. And I think it's, starting to show up in how productive he is, on the field as a player. Well, I think the big day for that is, it's really important. We've been emphasizing it all week, but, tomorrow's always the day that, we practice with noise. I know the centers and the quarterbacks have worked a little bit extra, on that with noise. this week. But tomorrow will be the day that, we need to really go through the whole practice and be able to deal with noise. And that's really when you can see how much it's going to impact the players. We've had some issues with the snap count, so hopefully that's not going to be a problem for us and we can get that resolved.
Where will you be on game day? Be a part of the action with a premium reserve tailgate from Game Day Done Right. Get your group together, pick your game and tailgate package, add on catering, beverages, and other tailgating amenities, and let Game Day Done Right take it from there. Enjoy all the fun of game day with zero stress. Visit GameDayDoneRight.com to reserve your tailgate today. For your next tailgate, just add people. Game Day Done Right is the exclusive provider of reserved tailgating opportunities for the University of Alabama and offers packages for all group sizes for a single game or the entire season. Coming up later tonight, another edition of Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa. Each and every week, Eli Gold joins us. Of course, he's the host of that show, but he always joins us here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, to preview the show. Plus, we love getting his take on Alabama football. Here's our weekly conversation with the voice of Tide football, Eli Gold.
Eli, can you believe it? We're all pretty much midway through the football season at this point as we get to week 6. But roll tide, sir. How are you?
I am well. Roll tide to you. I had a broadcasting buddy of mine years ago by the name of Barney Hall. He was the co-anchor on Motor Racing Network, NASCAR's radio arm, and Barney and I worked together forever. And I remember him telling me, he said, "Man, this season has flown right by." And I was still a young guy, and I said, "No, it's a lot of work, man. We're on the road 50 weeks a year, and this and this and this and this." And he said, "Trust me, when you get older, you'll realize how quickly it flies by." And now that you and I are a little bit older, it does indeed fly by. The time is here and gone before you know it.
Well, and for the Crimson Tide, there's another important road game coming up on Saturday against Texas A&M. What'd you see that you liked with this past ball game and the 40-17 win at Mississippi State?
Well, I liked the defense. So I liked the second half. I liked the defense. I thought everybody played, pretty well from my standpoint. So that was enlightening. It'll be interesting. I was not surprised that we threw some, 3 or 4 passes to Niblack. You knew he was going to be utilized a bit more in that ball game. I said to myself when I finished watching the ball game, I said, well, that's what the Tide can do. That's what they can do. Stuff that you and I saw in the scrimmages and so on. So, I was pretty pleased. I was happy to see Justice Haynes get some playing time. Not a lot. What was it? 4 or 5 carries. But that was nice to see him in the lineup. So, and to Ty Simpson, get him in there in a different situation. So, yeah, overall, I thought it was good. The other element of last week, I thought, Texas A&M played pretty well as well. And that, that all of a sudden concerns you because they're on the, they win, at Auburn, they win at Arkansas, and now they're home. It's not going to be an easy ball game, but I liked what I saw last weekend.
Yeah, there certainly are concerns really on both sides of the ball for Texas A&M. It looks like they have a very strong defense, especially along the defensive lines. Keeping Jalen Milroe upright and not giving up sacks will be important for this Alabama offense. And then we got to see Max Johnson a couple of years ago have some success, even though it was in a losing effort for LSU against Alabama. But he's got the Aggies playing at a high level at quarterback.
He does. I'm not going to necessarily compare him to his father, Brad, quite yet. But obviously there is... he comes from the genes of a veteran NFL quarterback. So, yeah, he plays well. I was impressed with him. Amari Daniels, obviously, running the ball well. Reuben Owens running the ball well. Le'Veon Moss running the ball well, and you've always got to keep an eye on the wideout, Anaya Smith, who is never to be taken lightly. So, it's going to be a tough ball game. I'm just looking here. They beat New Mexico, not a surprise. They lost at Miami, and now have a 3-game winning streak with ULM, Auburn, and Arkansas. So it's not going to be an easy game. And if there are any two coaches in this league who know each other well, it's boyhood friends, Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher. So that's going to be that's always a storyline there. And one of the other great parts of this ball game is being able to talk about Jordan Spazovich Moko. If for no other reason, he has a cool name, but he's played some at left tackle, but it's going to be a tough game. And Kyle Field will be packed. The only thing is it's very, very early in the morning, so maybe some of the student body will still be recovering from Friday night, but it's going to be a tough game. It sure will.
Certainly will. So we look forward to that on Saturday. And then every Thursday, of course, here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, we look forward to Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show. We had Ryan Hennessy join us on this program earlier. I know he was your media guest a week ago, and it sounds like you've got a pretty entertaining media guest lined up for tonight.
Well, he has a couple of highs and a few lows, and a little cumulonimbus to talk about and all that. It's going to be very interesting. We're opening up with Patrick Murphy, who has none of the highs and lows and cumulonimbuses to talk about. But the softball coach of the Crimson Tide will be with us to open the show. Then you've got James Spann, noted weathercaster and big Bama fan. So we'll talk with him, and I guess we'll inject a few weather terms into an otherwise football-heavy conversation with Coach Saban, who will be with us tonight as well. That's coming up at 7:00. So it should be a lot of fun. Murph at 6:30, and then James Spann, then Coach Nick Saban. That's the schedule for Thursday night.
We certainly look forward to it. Eli, thank you so much for your time here with us this week on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Look forward to catching up again and have a lot of fun with not only Coach Murphy and Coach Saban, but James Spann tonight. Roll Tide, sir.
All right, man. Take care. We'll bring you up to speed on all the weather. That's for sure. Whether you want to hear it or not, we'll bring it to you.
In the beginning was Daytona.
Here we go.
The birthplace of speed. The launch pad of legends. The great American race.
Oh, they're in the wall.
It's always been.
Keep digging. Stay in the gas.
And will always be the proving ground for greatness.
Let's go, boys.
Every driver looking to be remembered. Every fan looking for something they'll never forget. Secure your seats now at Daytona500.com.
Eli Gold, James Spann, Nick Saban, and Tom Stipe. What a fun table it's going to be coming up later tonight at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa for Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show. Somebody that really understands what James Spann is about to go through tonight as our media guest is Ryan Hennessy of WVTM in Birmingham, because last week he was the media guest and had some great questions for Coach Saban, and overall just a great perspective on Crimson Tide football. He covers not only the Crimson Tide, but the UAB Blazers, the Auburn Tigers, as well as SEC football in general. So Ryan Hennessy gives us a great perspective for this week's big picture on everything coming up with the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Now, Ryan, you get to join us on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, but thank you so much for making the time. How's everything going?
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Heart of the season right now, so hard to beat right now. About to head out to Texas A&M on Friday, so excited to see another one for the Tide this weekend in College Station.
Should be a lot of fun as we look ahead to the Aggies. Last Saturday, a good win against Mississippi State. And the Thursday before, as I mentioned, you got to sit on stage in between Nick Saban on one side, Eli Gold on another. What was it like to be on Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show?
Well, not one, not two, but three legends with Tom as well up there. Pretty special to be a part of it. My second time doing it. First one with Eli. Did it with Chris last year. I started my career in Dothan, and one of my goals, small little goals, was to do the Hey Coach show. So coming up to Birmingham, it's been going into my 4th year here. It's special that they asked me to do it, and try to do a little stuff different, not the normal football questions. And I Saban does a lot of interviews beforehand, and I kind of studied, okay, let me not double up on questions, but there was a fascinating one about how he has sports psychologists in his building. And I asked about that. And it's just so fascinating that, yeah, he can get on people player wise, but he's got sports psychologists to interview every player and see what their personality is like. Hey, this guy doesn't take hard coaching. This guy needs a little encouragement. So I just think that's interesting because he's been doing it for so long, and the secret of that, and that could be used. A lot of people in the stands, I think, or in the crowd at Hey Coach realize this could be used in work for a lot of places, but maybe not as sports psychologist for every person you have, but just how you kind of manage and handle your work and the people you work with. So I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, it really was a fun conversation. As you mentioned, you got to do that a couple times now. I mean, what is the difference between covering him like you have in your role for the television station and then getting to be on stage with him, interact a little more personally?
I don't think Nick Saban goes to a sports bar a lot. So this is the closest thing to him hanging out, watching some football on a Sunday or a Thursday night, or, whatever day you and your friends go out to, whatever your enjoyment is of outside of work. I think this is his fun. And you're starting to see him loosen up a little bit. And, with the struggles up and down year, I mean, there's still the path's still there clearly, but you'd think he'd be more uptight. But ever since that loss to Texas, he's been more, I don't want to say relaxed, because we saw what happened to Mississippi State. He's getting on his guys, but, he's enjoying it and realizing that it's, I don't know, it's every moment, the way you act, people are watching you and even your players. So that was really cool to be a part of. He's different than he is on a Monday, or definitely on a Wednesday. When we interview him on Wednesday, he's right off the practice field. He's not in his polo on a Monday morning. He's right off the practice field, fired up a little bit. So this is kind of, okay, I think everything's kind of been in order, and it's his last talk, which is why it's great on Thursday night before they head out on Friday. So that was the special part. Is it's more, there's nothing else. I mean, there's always something, but there's nothing else really. I think he's got everything done. And now it's focused on the game and moving to wherever they're going to be playing if they're playing on the road.
And speaking about covering this Alabama football team, obviously everybody kind of in the media has their different roles. What do you see the role of your station in trying to capture the spirit of this team? You only get a limited amount of time on television to work with. So how do you try and cover this team for this television station?
Yeah, I've been doing it for not forever, but a few years now, 2 years in Dothan. This is my 4th year in Birmingham, and I was promoted to sports director. And my team and I, the big thing is, what do we have that like ESPN doesn't, and stuff like that. And so we're making it a real effort to bring the every time Nick Saban speaks after the game, we bring the post-game press conference. And that's something that I think is important. I remember we didn't go to one game. It was Tampa. And we thought, okay, that's a tougher flight. And, maybe Alabama would, you're smiling, maybe Alabama would handle them with ease. But all I wanted to do was see what he was going to say after the game. And I couldn't find the post game. That's a great example of, we want to be the ones that are there every time he talks, every time the team finishes a game. And a great example was last week. We cover both Alabama and Auburn. So, Kerry and our other side of the team was at the Auburn game. I got him getting off the bus. So, hey, Auburn game's over, but we're still with you. We're still here. Alabama, yeah, it's a late kick, but we're here, ready to go. Don't turn off your TVs. Check on social media. And we've got the arrival of them coming off the buses. So being where when ESPN's on a football game or another station's on a football game, we're there getting the behind the scenes stuff. And that's kind of was the goal. And it's a tough thing to navigate because the world's changing. I mean, everything's digital now. Everything's on your phone. So those are the things that our web team's doing a really good job of trying to turn content quickly for the viewers.
Certainly do a good job at WVTM again here in Birmingham. As we mentioned, we're gearing up for a great trip coming up to Texas as Alabama takes on Texas A&M Saturday. Just what are your major storylines that you're going to follow for this ball game down in Aggie Land?
Well, I mean, the last 2 years were close. Clearly, one of them going Texas A&M's way with the storming of the field, and then a last-second stop for Alabama last year in Tuscaloosa. So these two teams put the records out the window, even though it's important to look at the records because both 2-0 in SEC play. This is huge. LSU's given a little bit of a path for a lot of people. I thought LSU was going to be the real issue with that loss to Ole Miss. I think that this isn't the end of the world, but this is a must win in a way for this team. They know each other well, and A&M's talking a little bit, and I think Terrion Arnold yesterday kind of addressed those words that Smith said, I believe, on Monday. So it's fun. I mean, but you knew it's going to be chippy back and forth. I've never been to A&M, so I'm excited to see that 12th man. And I mean, you were there, Roger. I mean, at Mississippi State, it's loud. I mean, and say what you want about the cowbells, but it's loud. And if there's a snap issue now with communication, buckle up, because A&M 100,000 plus is going to be an issue. But what I really like, and you're there on Mondays too, is I'm blown away by the professionalism by Jalen Milroe. I think he takes it on the chin. That Texas game, he handled that with such class, and nothing has changed throughout it all. So he took the snap issue. He said, it's on me. Is it really on him? Maybe not. It could be clearly on McLaughlin, but he's the leader of this team. He's the right guy to be the quarterback clearly at this point. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen. It helps a lot when you have the defense rolling the way they are right now.
Certainly does. It's going to be an interesting Saturday, of course, in College Station, and we will be there. Ryan Hennessy will be there for WVTM. Does a great job covering the Crimson Tide. And Ryan, just got to say a huge thank you for your time with us last week on Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show, and here today on Crimson Drive. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you. You guys do a great job. I'll see you out in Texas.
The 2024 Daytona 500 is right around the corner, and you won't want to miss this once-in-a-lifetime experience. Bring the whole family and purchase your tickets today at Daytona500.com. Well, coming up on Saturday, we look forward to being back at Kyle Field for the first time since it didn't go our way back in 2021. Andrew Monaco certainly has fond memories of that night, while we do not, but he is the radio voice of Texas A&M, and he gives us a detailed scouting report on the Aggies, plus a little perspective on the new changes around this Texas A&M program as he joins us this week for the other booth, previewing Alabama at Texas A&M.
We understand, Andrew, there's going to be a little bit of a fight once we see Alabama and Texas A&M at Kyle Field on Saturday. But how's everything going in Texas?
Everything is going well after a couple of wins to start SEC season. Jimbo Fisher very happy. The loss to Miami and what they've done after that. ULM got themselves right. You open with Auburn and then Arkansas. And a lot of times, Roger, Arkansas is that first SEC game. Instead, it was the second there in Arlington. You can see this defense with the identity. You talk about a fight. I think these two offenses are going to have to fight for every yard that they have to get. This might be old school SEC, old school wrecking crew for Texas A&M. It's going to be something, because both these defenses are dynamite and both offenses are dynamic as well. So I think it's a fascinating matchup this Saturday.
It really is. And on the Texas A&M side, we'll go to really one of the offseason storylines of Bobby Petrino coming in as the offensive coordinator, working along with Jimbo Fisher, who has plenty of experience of running his own offenses throughout his time as a head coach. What has that relationship been like? How have you seen it translate to the field?
It's been really good, and Bobby works mostly with the quarterbacks. As you know, Jimbo does that also, but that entire offense, what you'll see is this team take more shots. And if it's there, they'll take them. And the thing is, if you're going to take shots, you've got to have the talent to do that. And the Aggies do on wide receiver, whether it's Evan Stewart or Noah Thomas. And I think Anaya Smith coming back is absolutely huge for the Aggies, the leadership and the experience, but mostly I think that leadership and how that will permeate throughout, not just the offense, but with this entire team. And you had it with Connor Wigman and now Max Johnson. They will take the shot. They did it against, he did it against Auburn. He did it against Arkansas. Nothing changes because of the quarterback. Now, if the shot is not there down the field, they have been instructed, find a tight end, find a running back. Don't just throw it away. That's the last option. Live to play another day. And again, you have the running backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield. So that's the thing. Bobby Petrino has said, you feed the studs. The difference is Texas A&M on this offense, they got some studs as wide receivers. So Jimbo, and they've added Jim Chaney as an analyst. He has coached, I believe it's now officially everywhere in the SEC. But when you have those sets of eyes looking at the offense and helping your offense, you can see why the Aggies have an improved offense from last season.
Well, you mentioned really not much of a change. Connor Wigman going down with injury, Max Johnson stepping in. Obviously, Alabama saw Johnson before when he was at LSU, but what's he doing best right now? How did he play against the Razorbacks?
For Max, it's just that pocket presence, reading the entire progression. You know, Jimbo Fisher calls it saddle time. And he said this all last year for a team that did not have a lot of saddle time, more experience. And you're right. Max has played Alabama twice. Max has played Texas A&M twice, Roger. He's been reclassified where now he's just like his brother. He's a sophomore. This will be game number 27 for him. And most of them have been in the SEC. So when you have that kind of composure, I told Jimbo, because of my background, what impresses me about Max Johnson is he's a pro. I know he's not a pro. He's a college player. He's a student athlete, but it's that kind of preparation and being ready. And look, he battled Haynes King last year for that job and then had to take over for Haynes in a moment's notice. And he's the same thing with Connor Wigman. And in no way is it 1 and 2. Like Max was asked, were you thinking of transferring when you weren't named the starting quarterback? And he said, never. Wasn't no. He said never. Because it's where I want to be. It's the degree I want to get. It's the teammates that I have. And I think, Roger, we think as fans, put ourselves in the fans. Well, he didn't get the job, so he's going to go somewhere where he can play. It's about competing and what's best, you know, with your teammates. And he gets to play with his brother, Jake Johnson. So, but what he does is he's a little more agile than you think. He doesn't run like Connor Wigman does, but he has the agility and he has some elusiveness to make that first guy miss, and then just sit there and still find the receivers. So again, he's seen an awful lot, and he's going to see something on Saturday that I think it's going to be even more pressure than what he got against Auburn and against Alabama. So, but there's just that maturity and experience that he brings, and that trust with his receivers, because he has worked with them just as much as Connor has throughout camp. And you can see that relationship, I think, this entire offseason for all those receivers coming back. He's got some rapport with them. And really, Jimbo likes to throw receivers open. Look, all quarterbacks do. It's not just Jimbo. But you can see that trust that I think the routes now for the receivers are more precise. And now Max, not just hitting an open receiver, but hitting him in a location where that receiver can catch and turn and get some more yards. I think it's been nice. Worked on his body a little bit, a little stronger, a little faster. And obviously with that size back there, there's a lot of toughness for Max Johnson as well.
On the other side of the football, Alabama fans are really concerned about making sure that Jalen Milroe has some protection and does not get sacked. We saw 4 sacks from Mississippi State this past week. A lot of sacks have piled up all throughout the season, and we know this Texas A&M team can get in the backfield. They have a very strong defensive line. Is that really the strength of this A&M defense, that D-line?
Absolutely. That front four, which goes at times 3 deep, and they'll do it by units, and you'll see McKinley Jackson. He's the key, I think, on that D-line coming back, and he's also a reason why Walter Nolan, who plays alongside him, as well as Shamar Turner, has been so good. Then you add Fadil Diggs. That's the first 4 of that front 4. And for Texas A&M, learning, I think, in the last couple of weeks, the impact that the front 4 has on the back 7. There's a reason why you have Edgerrin Cooper making all the tackles he's making at linebacker. Another reason why a true freshman linebacker, middle linebacker, Torian York, whom they're trusting to make all the calls, can make his tackles. And then Chris Russell Jr. is another one. Had a chance to leave, did not decide to stay. And as you know, that front 4 helps that secondary as well. And they complement one another very well. And then, you know, when you have the second defensive line, you've got Shamar Stewart in there, you've got Albert Regis, Isaiah Rakes, LT Overton. When they do it by unit, you're fresh. Combination of fresh throughout the game, and then you're hoping that pays off in November or December, January, if you're fortunate. And you can see, you'll watch that no matter what defensive line is in there, you see that joy for one another. And it's almost as if they set that standard, and then the next group that comes in has to make sure that they're playing to that standard as well. It's been exciting. I think McKinley coming back again really anchors that. He's a Justin Matabike, a Bobby Brown, a DeMarvin Leal type impact guy. And he's really, I think, that maturity and that experience for him, and the way he works with not just his D linemen, but the offensive lineman on technique, I think, has really paid dividends since he's been back and healthy. Last year, it was his first game back again at Alabama. So I'm interested to see what a healthy McKinley Jackson does now that they take on the Crimson Tide this season.
Well, whoever wins this game will improve to 3-0 in the SEC and, for all intents and purposes, be in the driver's seat of the SEC West. Fans, of course, for us know what's after this ball game for Alabama, but for Texas A&M, what does the road look like after this game?
Typical SEC West, Roger, right? You know it as well as I do. At Tennessee, the next Saturday, bye week, South Carolina. Then the two Mississippi schools have to go to Ole Miss, play Mississippi State, Abilene Christian, and then that last game having to go to LSU. And I never know with the schedule, is it better to play LSU early, late? It's not possible because the way the schedule is now, it's always late. But you say wide open, and Jimbo Fisher has said, he's come out and said, look, we can beat anybody. And then pauses and says, and we can lose to anybody. That's how the SEC West is. I'm not even talking about the rest of the SEC. that's just that one little division that might be the best division in college football. Is it down? I don't know. But Roger, isn't it a lot easier for other teams who either don't have to play in the West or play the West once than they have to do the gauntlet throughout the season? That to me, though, is how much fun is that? You have Auburn come in, you get to go to Arlington and play Arkansas. Here comes Alabama, CBS. It's the 2:30 game. You get to go to Neyland Stadium. The last time we were there, it was a December, COVID, no atmosphere, going to be completely different this time. There's not a time that I just don't stand in that booth and say to myself, man, this is the place to be on this Saturday. And this Saturday at Kyle Field, I'm fairly certain will be electric. That's the word that I'm going to keep using, but that's just life in the SEC West. If you're not prepared, then you're going to get knocked off. And I don't think the reporters really could understand on Monday. They kept asking, oh, do you get up for Alabama? I don't think they understand under Jimbo Fisher and under Nick Saban. You like to say human nature says, oh, you circle this game, but you don't prepare any differently for Alabama than you do for Arkansas and Auburn the previous 2 weeks. McKinley Jackson said it. He said, we're going to prepare the same way because we like the results. And I'm going to tell you the same thing 3 weeks from now as we're preparing whatever opponent that is. You don't get up for the good games because then human nature says, okay, we don't think that team's as good as us. They are conditioned in the SEC West to know you're going to be challenged. Good luck taking on Arkansas's front line. That's Sam Pittman's going to have an offensive line, right? Good luck playing Trajan Jeffcoat on the left end or Landon Jackson on the right. You know what I mean? Like I get that the fans look at it, but the great teams, and this is what Nick Saban does week in and week out, taking everybody's best shot and being prepared because it is the biggest game for those schools. But that's what Jimbo Fisher said. Nameless, faceless opponent. You have to prepare. If you don't have a good week, you're not going to play well. It's not going to magically be better on Saturday. It's that preparation. And I like that kind of maturity throughout this Texas A&M team.
Going to see a game at Kyle Field is on the bucket list for a lot of college football fans. For any Alabama fan that's maybe making their way to Bryan College Station for the first time, anything they need to check out around campus before the game begins at 2:30? Any must-see spots there?
A lot of teams do the Spirit Walk, and I think that's fun to see the players and their families. It's that last chance before they do that. This will be the last year that the core is going to march. The problem is they're still going to march around campus, but they're not coming into the stadium because there's no fans in the stadium by the time the core does that. And, the core is very much the identity of Texas A&M. And I say this, and I mean this sincerely. If you're walking around and you see Aggie fans tailgating, join that tailgate. They wanted you to enjoy the experience, and they're probably cooking something really good. So you will get fed. To me, it's once you're inside the stadium, I think it's magnificent that, first of all, Roger, 38,000 student tickets. That's larger than some stadiums, right? But you have the largest student section, and they do stand the entire time. The Fighting Texas Aggie Band at halftime. But the roar, you don't need a lot of artificial noise for that place to roar, yell, as we say it. Listen to that place on third down. Don't need a gong to tell you it's third down. They absolutely know that. And there's almost that there's that buzz. And they obviously they love blue collar. They love the wrecking crew type defenses. They love now the big plays. You'll be amazed if you just sit and listen. That buzz, that you don't need a decibel level either. It to me, it's noticeable, and you kind of get caught up how exciting it can be. And to me, I'm with you. I think it is an absolute college football bucket list. I think there are some, and I'm not saying it's the only one. I think there are some that if you're a fan, you must be a part of it. I think that's what Kyle Field is becoming and has been there for a while. I think it's just a great atmosphere. They'll be there early on Saturday, and it's just the way it's full. You will feel, I know it's an engineering school, but you will feel it swaying. Don't worry, we're okay. In fact, my first game, Dave Elmendorf, my partner, he kept hitting me going, can you feel it swaying? Can you feel it swaying? And you can. And to me, that's kind of the excitement. But the 12th man towels, when they start being waved, obviously, the yells that from the yell leaders that are down there, it's just very much that community. And I think it's an enjoyable experience. As I say, if you are a college football fan, I think it's an absolute enjoyable experience and a place that you must see to see some college football.
Well, we look forward to waving to you guys in the other booth during the sway when it's coming up on Saturday. But Andrew, thank you so much for your time, giving us a great scouting report on Texas A&M. We look forward to being at Kyle Field with you guys coming up on Saturday. Thank you again for your time.
Pleasure, my friend, Roger.
Thanks to Andrew Monaco for joining us. Look forward to seeing him and everybody at Kyle Field coming up on Saturday. Again, the Crimson Tide getting ready for this trip to Texas A&M. It's part of a very busy weekend here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. We always take a look at our weekend schedule thanks to our friends at Wickles Pickles. They are wickedly delicious. We have the pickle chips and the relish always with us on set. Make sure you get ready for game day at WicklesPickles.com. Wickles Pickles, a proud partner of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Let's see what's coming up here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Coming up later tonight, it will be Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show live from Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Starting at 6:30, as Eli mentioned, James Spann will be along as the media guest, as well as Patrick Murphy. Should be a lot of fun tonight at Baumhauer's. Also, make sure you stay tuned to the Alabama Athletics YouTube channel and our TV affiliates across the state for a new episode of Tide TV This Week, hosted by Kenzie Hughes. Coming up tomorrow, we will have a video preview with some highlight clips coming up on our Facebook, or on our YouTube, and on our Instagram channels. A great preview of Alabama against Texas A&M coming up there. And then on Saturday, the main event, 2:30 kickoff, 11:30 our radio start time, all across the Crimson Tide Sports Network and the Varsity Network app. Don't forget, you can also watch the Royal Furniture Booth Cam as well, streaming live on the CTSN YouTube and Facebook pages. On Sunday, we'll talk about the ball game. Chris Stewart will host the Nick Saban Show along with Coach Saban, so you get thoughts from the coach from the field at Kyle Field coming up on Sunday. And then Monday, we'll recap Texas A&M, start looking forward to the next home game for the Crimson Tide against the Arkansas Razorbacks with another edition of Crimson Tide Rewind presented by the Alabama Department of Public Health. That'll be starting at 6 p.m. Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. Again, make sure you follow us on all of our social media networks for the latest and the best coverage on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Well, that's going to wrap up this busy edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Huge thank you to all the guests we've had today: Jalen Milroe, Eli Gold, Ryan Hennessy, and Andrew Monaco. Again, a great complete preview of Alabama against Texas A&M on the two editions of Crimson Drive we've had this week. Thanks to our video producer, Ethan Carabin, for putting the show together, and thanks to all of you for watching. Now let's get ready for Saturday. Alabama at Texas A&M. A huge SEC West showdown is coming up, and we're certainly hoping we have a good victory to talk about when we join you again next week, Tuesday and Thursday at 2 o'clock for Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. For the Crimson Tide Sports Network, I'm Roger Hoover saying thanks again for watching, and Roll Tide.